And that was the first time I could see his face bluster up and then he backed down.
Well, hello. Welcome, Val.
Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Doing great. I'm so excited to have you on as a guest, my special guest, but you're not just a guest, you're also a dear friend. We had a great conversation a few weeks ago. We just kind of got deep. We're like talking about some deep stuff. And I'm like, I need you on the podcast. Who are you? What is your life been like so far? If you can condense it for us.
Okay. Last of 6 kids, growing up in a sort of rough, abusive kind of household, but also some love, a lot of love too. Went off into the Army myself, went through ROTC, and I met my husband in ROTC, and we got married, and we were both Army officers for a while. I was for 7 years, and then wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Desert Storm had just happened, and people were deploying dual family members. Wasn't going to do that. I couldn't leave my kids. And so my husband stayed in, and I was the proverbial spouse's wife, running the show back home. Lots of deployments, a couple of wars, raising my kids. Overall, a good marriage to my husband, but definitely a journey. You stay with it.
You stay with it. That's one thing I've always admired about you. You hang in there with everything you do, you power through.
I think it comes from my upbringing in a tough household with you had to survive. I joke with people all the time and say that I didn't even know I had a voice until I was 40.
So that's like the crux of it, right? Because part of my whole mission here is to help women realize that they do have a voice.
Yeah.
And that their voice matters.
Yes.
And you didn't know you had one until you were 40. So thank you. That was the perfect segue. So you're this Army officer, then you're an Army wife, then you're an Army mom, you're raising boys. Oscar's deployed often. He's very busy, right? I mean, he moved up the ranks. He was a very well respected, still is, officer in the Army. Everyone loves him. Everyone loves you. But you were busy with the household stuff, right?
I was, yes. And I always felt like my primary job was not the household, it was the kids.
Yeah.
And lots and lots and lots of mistakes.
Yeah. So when you were about 40 and you're saying you found your voice, what does that even mean?
Growing up around in our house, at the dinner table and around in the family, there was a set of twins that were 3 above me, and they dominated. And so I became very internal. My internal voice in conversation was very active and very alive and well. I just never articulated it to anybody else. And I just never thought that I really mattered that much, to be honest. That that's kind of my personality anyway. I want other people to be happy around me. On the Enneagram scale, I'm a 9. I'm a peacemaker.
Are you also a fixer? Do you like to fix people, fix situations, make things good and comfortable?
I try to do that. Yeah. But I don't always know how. Now, I will tell you, my husband, he's become this person that has been able to see people and beginning to love them for who they are and not be this sort of arrogance, I guess, which he knows he has.
Yeah.
But he's come a long way as far as understanding people better and really being able to help. But I'm really just, I want everybody to be happy. If we're going to choose a movie, I want you to be happy. Let's go to your movie.
So has that ever caused resentment inside of you?
I was resentful for the first 25 years of our marriage.
Really?
Yes, because I call him Oscar the Hall. He's a very great man. You know him.
I do.
Yes, and a lot of what made him successful in the Army, being decisive and authoritative and action oriented, he brought home. And he yeah, and I just was not able to project myself into projecting who I am in that. And I think for a while I was really happy that I had that.
Hmm.
'Cause I was I had very low self-esteem, was unsure of myself.
Hmm.
So he helped bring that out in me. And then when it came out in me, I didn't know how to express it. I just got very, very, very bitter.
You got to a point though, after the boys are gone, that you said, I'm gonna claim my voice.
Yeah.
This is who I am. So how did that go?
Actually, it started when we moved to Alaska. It actually started while the boys were still home to a degree. I think we had a 25-year fight all in one conversation.
Oh,
And
wow.
and he didn't even know. And that wasn't fair of me because I never told him. Only to realize later on that he would hear me and adjust his behavior. But I just didn't understand the power that I had for a long time. So it started when when we moved here, boys were in I guess early high school and middle school. And then after they left, I'm not really sure what happened, but he retired
Yeah.
and from the army, went off to another job, got really full of himself at that job. And I just was like, I'm done. I'm not putting up with this anymore. And I just started saying stuff. And we don't have very long and deep conversations about behavior. I'll say a sentence and he'll hear it. He'll say a sentence and I'll hear it. And I just learned after a while, I remember being at a wedding and all of his coworkers were there. I challenged him at that wedding. And that was the first time I could see his face bluster up and then he backed down. And that was the first time that had ever happened. And then I was like, the power is shifting.
Oh, yeah. Did you feel a sense of like, uh-oh, if I do this, I might be in trouble? Or were you just like, I don't care?
Oh, at that point, I was like, I don't care. And I challenged through the bluffed up face, the blustery, I'm powerful. And then I didn't, for the very first time, I didn't back down. And he did. And I was like, why didn't I do this 25 years ago?
Right. Was it uncomfortable amongst the other people at the party or at the wedding?
Yes, it was.
Was it? Okay.
Yes, it was.
The power dynamic kind of started to shift at that point.
Yes.
Kind of taking us into the whole spirituality conversation that we were having, because you were a Christian, right? A Christian trying to raise a Christian family, teach your sons what you believe to be true and take them to church. And what did that look like? And then what kind of faith transition have you had? And I know this is a huge question, so go anywhere you want with it.
Okay. First of all, it's exactly the question that I want to answer.
Okay, good.
I was raised Catholic, Roman Catholic. And so the Roman Catholicism, you're always left to believe that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're just not good enough and you're never going to be good enough. I certainly didn't learn about the love of God. I learned the condemnation of God, but I probably learned that more from my father than I did from my faith, from my religion at the time, right? I was always very attuned to the spiritual side of things. I have a very intuitive personality.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
I can be very emotional. I have put it in check, which I'm not sure anymore is good. I was very vulnerable to people for a long, long time. And then I just got tired of that and I didn't want to be that anymore. And I think I was actually better when I was more vulnerable to people.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think maybe advancing ahead all these years, I think maybe being vulnerable with some limitations is probably where I'm heading to now.
Okay.
And a good antidepressant doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of helps a little bit too. So yes, definitely some depression and anxiety growing up and things like that. It was in my family. So my over emotionalism, as I call it, needed to be put in check a little bit.
Gotcha.
But anyway, getting back to faith. When I went off to college, actually, I started doing a Protestant youth group when I was in middle school, and then I did it's called Young Life. It's a non-denominational Christian organization. So I was introduced to the Protestant side of things and felt a lot more love in that church on the Protestant side of things. So when I got to college, I was still involved with I was involved with the Newman Club, which is the Catholic club. I was in the folk group. I played the guitar and sang and did all that and praise and worship. And but I was also in Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And after I got out of college and Oscar and I met, we didn't go to church for about 8 years. I still had faith. God was with me the whole entire time. I made some poor decisions and suffered through the shame and consequences of them. Mostly hard on myself about my decisions. Again, looking back, God was there with me the whole entire time. I don't think it's wrong to make mistakes. God uses everything. It took me a long time to recover from my own mistakes. Everything bad that's ever happened to me, I feel like I've created. But it's interesting. I'm listening to this priest called Richard Rohr for the center, the Contemplation Center for Contemplation.
Yeah.
And he was talking today, I was listening to a podcast and he was talking about original sin and how original sin was collective original sin, not personal original sin.
Oh.
So it's the first time today I heard a message that maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself. You know, it's not all about me. I've definitely learned to deal with that. I am not, I'm nowhere near as hard on myself as I used to be. So if you're talking about the journey, you know, with how the journey has been, I have found my voice. I'm not as hard on myself. Every year I get older. I just turned 60 in July and I am happy to be 60. I am so happy.
Great. Yeah.
Because every year that I get older, I'm more wise. I understand more. I'm less egotistical, less, you know, more humble. And I can see in every aspect of my life, every era of my life, everything that I've been through, that God was carrying me the whole entire way, the whole entire way. He was there, loving me and showing me the way. So I have gone, and you and I have discussed this many times, that you and I were in this quest, right? Who is God really? And God is not that hard guy, you know, he's love. And I think I finally understand, or I'm starting to understand and have felt that a little bit. I love God. God loves me. You know, and so I'm happy that I'm at this point in my life where I see him as love and I want to surrender completely to him and feel his love so that I can outpour that to other people. Yes.
So one of the things we talked about that goes along with this is that when we were younger, we very much lived in the black and white.
Yeah.
And as we get older, you talk about just turning 60, as we get older, and I'm finding this with myself because I'm 56, things become more gray. And it's not like a dilution of my faith or like a laziness.
Right.
It's more of a integration of life's experience and wisdom, like you said, and being able to understand and see things with a different perspective.
Yeah. Right. So for instance, I just feel like I want people to hear that you don't have to hate others with alternative lifestyles. You can love them. Okay, you take the transgender people, love them for who they are. First of all, you don't know that they're not going to go to heaven anyway.
Exactly.
The gay, the LGBTQ thing, and everybody. I mean, they've always been around us. Just also Buddhists, Muslims, everybody. You don't know that God doesn't see their faith as through Jesus Christ to him. You don't know that.
Right. So
they're living what they know. They're loving the best that they can love. And I'm not saying every Muslim, I'm not saying, you know, of course, all right. We had the, the Muslims that are terrorists. Okay. I get that. All right. But a good majority of Muslim people are good and faithful people who love, right.
Right.
Buddhism, Hinduism, everybody's striving for the same thing. And there's, everybody wants to achieve the same thing. It just might look a different way.
Yeah.
So again, this is all relating back to Richard Rohr's book called The Universal Christian that I recommend every one of your readers read. And I hope they're not offended by this, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
Just,
I love it. I love that recommendation.
yeah.
And it's all a matter of perspective, right? The way things look from your side of the street
Mhm.
may look different than from my side of the street. Let's lay down the number 6 in front of us. I see it as a 6, but you're on the other side. You see it as a 9.
There you go. I love that. That's awesome.
You're not wrong. I'm not wrong.
Right.
We're just in a different position. So,
Right.
this American evangelical Christianity, I think in many ways has lost its mind, and lost its way in a lot of ways, because we try to be the judge. We cherry pick certain scriptures, pull them out of context to use for our own self-righteous, whatever reasons we can come up with, and we judge. And it's so it's so contradictory to what the message of Jesus.
Exactly. You said that very well. I have come to understand about the Protestant religion is that we're all about behavior management.
Yeah.
Everything is the songs we sing in church. If you go to a contemporary
Oh yeah.
service, it's all about what God can do for you so you can become mentally healthy.
So what's it about? Just give us a soundbite. What's it about?
I will not claim that I came up with these words myself, but I believe them because I have lived them. It's about suffering and learning to love through suffering.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that. I've been through some things in my life, suffered. I have suffered. I have suffered within my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I have suffered in not being able to voice the things how I wanted to raise our boys. I have suffered in some resulting consequences of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have suffered in losing my parents, doing hospice for my dad. In 5 weeks at home, he was diagnosed and died, and I saw him through his death, which, by the way, was one of the most beautiful things I've ever done. 3 months later, my mom died. 3 years later, my oldest brother is just going into hospice now for pancreatic cancer. In the meantime, my sister got cancer.
Wow.
And survived. So just, and my personal, well, I've got 2 total knees.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got them in my 40s, and I went through 6 years because I've actually had 3.5 total knee replacements. And so, personally suffering in my body with pain and the mental resilience that it takes to power through every day, and do that kind of thing. So yes. And so you learn to love by suffering. You learn to calm down. You learn to just relax. You learn to be at peace.
Interesting, because the word suffering for me, it just has some baggage, right? I was in one of my previous marriages, I called it, there was the theology of suffering. Like, that's what I called it. Like, unless you were suffering in your marriage,
I see.
you weren't in Christ. Your marriage was not blessed by God. Like, everyone who was married suffered. And now I don't believe that now. I believe you can actually be happy.
Yes.
So that carries some baggage for me. But what I think you're saying is pain, just being a part of humanity, you go through things.
Yes.
And they either make you bitter or they bring you to a place of, like you said, surrender, just chill and love.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and I wasn't trying to say that everybody suffers in their marriage. I'm just saying, for me, there was some.
Take me down sort of like the metamorphosis of your faith. So you've gotten to a point now where, well, how would you describe yourself? I mean, you still go to church. I mean, it's not like you're anti-church, right? Or
no, not at all. My faith is becoming very unattached to organized religion.
Boom.
Actually, what I'm finding is validation for what I have been feeling.
Oh, yeah. And that feels good to be validated. Finally, have somebody voice what you've been feeling on the inside, say it
Yeah.
out loud, and you go, yes.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly what's been happening because I think I'm in a unique position more than most people because I was raised Catholic and it was a very big part of my life. And then I switched over to Protestantism and that was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that neither are perfect, neither are 100% right. And I can express my faith any way that I want to.
And that
Yes,
feels good to be validated. Finally, have somebody voice what you've been feeling on the inside, say it
yeah,
out loud, and you go, yes.
yes. Yes, that's exactly what's been happening because I think I'm in a unique position more than most people because I was raised Catholic and it was a very big part of my life. And then I switched over to Protestantism and that was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that neither are perfect, neither are 100% right. And I can express my faith any way that I want to. I can go to any church that I want to. I can go to my local church that I do go to, but I'm also feeling kind of like, well, sometimes I might want to go to Catholic church.
I
And
agree. When you're at a particular church, it's like this identity, your identity becomes woven into that church.
right,
And I kind of feel like that's okay, maybe when you're younger, because a lot of younger people need the solid structure and the rules. They need the box, they need the black and white. And I think as we get older and we bring more experiences to the table,
right.
that thins out, right? And we have more, our parameters are larger and we can, like, just like you, I could go to a Catholic church and feel great. I'd be like, I can worship here.
Yeah. I have to say this too. One of the things that I started noticing in the last, I have some wonderful neighbors, and in particular, my next door neighbor Dee and her group of friends. They're a very loving group of friends, and for the most part, they're not churchgoers. There's one who's Catholic and she goes, but what I see from them is and I guess I have the same group of friends. We do the same thing. But I've noticed that a lot of people who are not churchgoers and don't profess, faith in Jesus Christ are some of the best people that I know.
I
They're
agree.
kind, they're loving. And I started to wonder that. It's like, well, I'm not like that. I don't always jump in and try to help somebody. I was the last of 6 kids. It was kind of Lord of the Flies. I mean, there was it was kind of a pecking order, and it was really what am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Not I didn't really learn how to love other people, I should say, and I should have, right? So it's been a constant struggle in my life to learn how to love people. And I look at people and I'm like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to be. So then I'm like, okay, let's make it genuine. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Because I did try to do that for a little bit too.
Yeah.
So I have to be who I am, but I have to say, okay, I got to reach out. If I'm going to love people and God calls me to love, then I really need to love. And love is not a noun, it's a verb.
Right.
Yeah.
That really resonates with me because I was never like a real, like, I struggled with loving people too.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the best Christians I've ever met are not Christians or wouldn't
No.
profess to be, And so it's interesting, like, where does that come from?
I look at my husband and he was raised Southern Baptist, so
Yeah.
has become very anti-religion, right?
Yeah.
Well, he goes to church with me every Sunday, but he is never, at least not yet, going to be involved in the church because he grew up like that and he saw the fakeness, and his dad is still in a deacon in the Southern Baptist church,
Yeah.
and it's so hypocritical. And so and I used to think to myself, oh, he's not, I'm a good Christian and he's not. I actually thought that.
I know.
But I watch him and he helps more people.
I know.
He does the kindest things for people. And I'm like, he is a true servant and he loves people and he is a much better better Christian than I ever have been.
Yeah. I totally get that because Jeff, he never went to church growing up. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have any of that culture or anything, but he'll help anybody.
Yeah.
I look at that and I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, wow. I
Yeah.
want that. I want to be
Yes,
that.
me
But
too.
like you, I grew up in religion. I grew up in Mormonism and very
Right.
much a similar mindset. So I'm the same way. I don't even want to be attached to any religion or any denomination or any church right now. I'm open to several different possibilities.
Yeah. It's really about loving people.
It is. That's what it is.
Dared to love other people.
Yes. Yes. For who they are. So you're 60 now. So you're in this like new season of your life, right?
Yes.
And in so many ways, it's the best, isn't it? It's the best.
Yeah, it's great.
You have the wisdom, you have the experience, you know what you know, and you know what you know is real and true.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this carefree attitude. Like, aren't you more mellow?
Oh, much more.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. After my kids left and I started substitute teaching, and I go there every day and I do whatever they need me to do, but mostly I work in the special education department. We call it SPED. It's not derogatory. It's everybody calls it SPED.
Right. Right.
And so I have had to learn. I wish I could go back and reparent my kids based on how I've had to change my my behavior and my management of difficult children. I wish I could go back and reparent my kids the new way that I'm doing this now.
Oh, me too.
And so just because I'm 60 doesn't mean that I'm not still learning. And I hope to learn until the end of my life how to be a better person.
Absolutely.
And yeah, anger is not one of them. Things that you can show a special ed kid. And
No.
I've had to work very hard at that and be creative and choose alternative ways of classroom management and dealing with these kids, special ed or just, regular kids. So.
That's what grandchildren are for, though. Like you can reparent in a way. And I know you're not there yet. You don't
Not
have
there yet. Hopefully soon.
So now you're in this season. It's the season of chill, the season of Val, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. And where do you see yourself in 20 years?
Oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about that. Well, first of all, I want to be that old lady that hikes up the mountain.
Love it.
I want to be, here's my great thing that I have not done enough of that I really want to be. I want to be down in the dredges with the people who need help.
Mm.
I just don't quite know how to do that. And I think that a lot of us in America live this very comfortable, complacent life. And we don't know what the other side is like. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm guilty of that. And I think if I wasn't married by now, I would have sold everything and would be doing that.
Really?
It weighs heavy on my heart. I'm not saying everybody is called to that. I'm just saying, I feel that I want to be helping the hungry people. I want to be helping the homeless people. From the way I was raised in suburbia and all that, I probably have no way to relate to them at all. I'm probably not the right person to do it, but I can certainly help out in some way or another. And Oscar and I have talked about this. We're both going to work for 5 more years. So we'll be 65 when we retire. Okay. We don't want that life where we're just existing.
Yeah.
Like so many people and loving people that we love dearly, that they just, they move from one in the winter to another place in the summertime, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? They relax and they have a nice life.
Yeah.
And neither Oscar or I want that. So that's just us. We want something more meaningful. Like I think probably we'll be helping, veterans, or we'll be doing something.
Yeah, I believe you will.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
because
because you guys are far too active and far too social to just
yeah,
sit down and watch TV and have drinks at 5 and then bed by 8:30, right?
right. That's how I live right now.
I was gonna say, not that there's anything wrong with that,
Not
but
that there's anything wrong with that.
yeah, no, I get it. I do get it.
Don't make me stay up after 9.
I know. I'm like that too lately. I used to stay up till midnight. Now I'm like 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
time to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, thank you, Val. This has been amazing. Thank you for sharing parts of your story with us. I just honestly love your faith journey, and I love how you express it and share it, because it's it's validating to me.
Yeah.
It's helped me because I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one, because I used to live in this place of shame for having doubts, right?
Right. Right.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I love you, sister.
Love you too.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And please, if you enjoyed the program today, please feel free to share. I appreciate you. Get out there and start living your best damn life. Until next time, take care.